In this video, I'm going to show you how to install these tow mirrors in place of the original ones. To do that, we have to remove the door panel, so let's get started. It's time to take the door panel off, and to start, I'm going to remove this window and lock switch. Now use a trim tool, stick it in the front here, and pop it up. Sometimes you can do this without a trim tool too, and then pull it forward, flip it over, and you can see the connections for the window switch and the door lock. Press the button and wiggle the connections out, and then once these are both disconnected, you can set your switch panel aside. It's hard to see, but there's a 7mm screw that we'll have to remove. Try not to lose it inside the door. There it is. Now I want to remove the trim piece around the door handle. I'm going to go from the back, pop it out. Remove it. Now take a Phillips head screwdriver and remove this screw over here. Set it aside safely. At the bottom of the door, you'll notice 2 Phillips head screws. Go ahead and remove both of them. I actually only have one, my other one is missing. But if you have both, remove both. At this point, you can grab the door panel, pull it straight up, and it should pop out of place. You can set it aside. At this point, I want to plug in my window switch. I have the key in the ignition in the on position already. And the reason I like to do that is so I can roll the window all the way down and reach the mirror from or through the door so that it doesn't fall down as soon as we unbolt it. So let's roll this all the way down, and this gives us much better access to remove and reinstall the new mirror. The tow mirror is going to be a lot heavier, and it'll be difficult to hold it over the door. At this point, with a 6mm socket, I'm going to remove the 4 screws that hold in the speaker, and I do that because otherwise I can't reach the wiring for the mirror, and this mostly comes in handy when we reinstall so we can pull the wiring down through the door properly. Pull the speaker off, and don't go too far with it because it has a connection on the back side. If you flip it over, you'll see the tab here. Pull on it, disconnect it, and set this aside safely. Now you can pull the vapor barrier down a little bit, and that will expose this connection over here, which we can now unplug. There we go. Now moving up over here, you can see this cover. Remove it, should just be glued on. And there are 3 11mm mounting nuts. I'm going to remove the lower 2 first. Try not to drop them in the door. You can use a magnet if you want to. On this third one, I'm going to support the mirror so that it doesn't fall down. Now you can pull the mirror straight out, and the wire, this insulation here, and the wire will come with it. Might have to wiggle the wire around, but here it is. Now take your new mirror, make sure this foam pad is on here. This is what insulates everything. Take the wire and slide it down into the door. Line up the 3 mounting holes. There we go. It has a little hook, so it'll actually stay on for a second while you walk around. I'm going to hold it through the window, start on one of the mounting nuts. Okay, now it's secured. We can start on the 2 other ones, and then we'll go ahead and tighten them. Okay, so for this, I'm actually going to tighten it by hand. That way I can feel how tight it's actually getting. And I like to go back and forth between all of them because what this does is it actually squishes that foam pad up against the door and creates a nice tight seal. And if you don't go between all of them back and forth, it will squish unevenly. So go back to this one, back to this one. Okay, it feels like they're all evenly tight. For the first couple passes, you'll feel the first one loosen up as you keep going around. But once they all feel like they're the same tightness, you're all set. At this point, you can see the wire that we fed through the door is out here through the speaker hole. Make sure that it comes on this side of the window, not on the other side. If it is on the other side, make sure you bring it back behind this window track here. If it goes through this opening, it will get cut off by the window as you roll it up, and that's not good. So take the wire, make sure it's routed properly, and then feed it through this opening where the connector is. Go ahead and plug it in. Make sure it clicks so that it's secure. We can put this back, and now let's reinstall the speaker. On the back side, you'll see the connector. Plug it in. Make sure that clicks, and reposition it approximately where it was before so the screws line up. Start one of them in so that it can stay here without falling. And with this in place, I can start the other three, and then we'll tighten them up. When you tighten these up, make sure you don't go too tight because they are very small and you can easily strip the threads or break the screws. So just go until it bottoms out and then give it a little bit extra, but it is important that you tighten it fully. Otherwise, as the music is playing, the speaker will rattle and it's going to make horrible noises and you're going to have to take it all back apart just to fix this. So make sure it's tight, but not too tight. Now let's put this piece back. Unfortunately, the sticky part on mine is completely gone. It doesn't want to stick anymore, so I'm just using a little bit of masking tape to hold it in place. This will all be covered by the door panel anyway. Maybe not so much over here, but just reposition this. You basically just want this to stay here so that it can cover up the mounting holes, prevent any wind noise from making its way into the vehicle. Now let's reinstall our door panel. Make sure the wires go through. It has some hooks all around that need to slide in and down on the door itself, and make sure the lock indicator pops through the hole. There we go. Once that does, line everything up, press it down, that comes through, line up the front. There you have it. Now let's resecure it with the mounting screws. Now let's put the screw in. Make it nice and snug. We'll put the trim piece around the door handle back in, slide it in at the back first. Make sure it pops in. Don't forget about this screw right here. Make sure it's snug. Now we can put the switch panel back in. Reconnect your two switches. And then slide this in at the back first, line it up with the front, tap it down. Resecure your screws at the bottom, put both of them in if you still have two.